There is a fifth dimension.
About the unknown.
Beyond that which is known to man.
The Garden of Thought.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace.
Unexplained.
Mythologies.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call
The Garden of Thought with Jeff Lippman.
Welcome, everyone, into Garden of Thought, and this is a very special episode. I always say that, and I always mean it. But this episode is sort of a last-minute throw together, and I hope it'll work out well. So here's what's been going on. So the audience should never notice this because I always have 2 or 3 episodes recorded in the hopper. And even as of right now, I have 2 episodes recorded in the hopper. But last Sunday, my guest, who is either a reverend or a minister, I'm not sure which, to be frank. His afternoon services went long and he was needed for a bunch of things. So he's also an author about the stuff that I love. And if you're listening to the show, the stuff that you love. So it's sort of an interesting combination. But he couldn't make it. I'm like, no big deal. I got 2 shows recorded, and I've got one for Wednesday recorded, and I've got one for Thursday. So, Sunday. So I've got, I'll have my usual, 3 or 4, show buffer. And then this week, my guest says, "Oh, thanks for the reminder. I'm super busy on Sunday. Can we reschedule?" I'm like, "Sure." And then I'm like, "Yeah, I've got 2 in the hopper, but I don't feel comfortable just with the 2 show buffer. That's not a buffer for me. It's like, some people don't like to have less than X amount in their bank account, even if that money would be better used to be investing or whatever. I'm like that, well, with lots of things. So anyway, I put up the guest signal, and I got some people who said yes, and it quickly dawned on me that maybe I'll just have a panel, we'll have some fun. So anyway, all of the guests have been here before. They're prior guests, so longtime listeners have met them before. In the order of closest to me on the screen to my left is Chris Matthews, who is a person from Baltimore who I have never met in person and probably never will. And I think that's starting to take on its own beautiful thing. Chris?
No. Eventually we will.
No. And anyway, Chris has his own show. He's also a member, well, he was a member of the Bayou Geeks, but the Bayou Geeks is now the Bayou Geek, but he's still a member of the Minorities Reports, which is 3/4 of the Bayou Geeks. It's very confusing. But they're all still friends, which is also very confusing, but actually good. He's also on the Hey Now Rich Dow show, and he talks about sports and Orioles and all sorts of things and pop culture and things that are going on now in pop culture that I know nothing about. So, hello, Chris. Thanks for being one of the people to rescue me.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad to be back.
All right, cool. Then, underneath Chris, the way I'm looking at the frames now, everyone's but I keep wanting to call him a sinister minister. He's not a minister. He's not a cleric. He's not even a holy man. He's not even an unholy man. He's just like the accountant for like a pagan church somewhere in Connecticut or something.
I mean, I'm the president of the board of directors. It's a little higher than accountant.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, good.
Look going. I like it.
That's right. It's Joseph J. Alexander. He comes to us from the world of pro wrestling is actually where I know him. He was a promoter. He's still a promoter. He does his own shows. He does pop culture shows. He does some wrestling stuff. He's been on this show. Hasn't invited me on his show yet, which is probably...
No, we got to fix that.
That's right. We got to fix that. Or it's probably a smart move on his part. But who knows? JJ Alexander, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be back here. I was happy when you put up the signal, and I was like, Sundays are usually my busy day, but I had today off, so I was just like, I'm here for this.
And if this show sucks, I'm going to consider revenge for my third guest, Joey Restivo, making me watch the show Dark and doing 3 episodes on it to cover each season of Dark. So Joey Restivo, my friend who switched to Waverly Park Middle School in 3rd grade when they closed his elementary school, and we've been stuck together ever since, literally ever since. He's semi-retired. He pushes cigarettes. He pushes Doors music, which I guess evens out his karma. Joey, how are you?
Doing good. Great to be back. So when you threw out the signal, so I said either Seinfeld or classic Twilight Zone. We'd love to have done Seinfeld as well. Maybe that's in the future, or maybe that's not up your alley. Well, but this, I think, is going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, to say Seinfeld's not my alley is sort of an insult, and I'm a little bit offended right now. That said...
Well, you should know your alleys.
I should know my alleys. I need to bowl more. So... Originally, when I threw this out, there was a very good chance this would be a show about nothing. But as it turned out, you guys all sort of came up with a theme, and you all sort of dig it. And I cannot believe that I haven't covered this before. Maybe I have. If I haven't, maybe it's fallen into my own private one. But we're going to talk about the Twilight Zone, which the classic show from the 50s or 60s, I think the 50s. Rod Serling. There was a movie made, there's been remakes, and there's been plenty of shows that have played tribute to it. So I haven't planned anything for this. I remember the Twilight Zone fondly, loved the Twilight Zone. Everyone loved the Twilight Zone. But I'm going to follow along. This is really going to be a guest privilege thing. I think I'm going to start with the person who's got the most podcasting and show hosting, and let JJ sort of take the lead on this one, because he said classic Twilight Zone, I'm in. So, so JJ, take us into that dimension of sight and sound and all the other cool words that were used.
Well, so I've been a fan since I was very young. Growing up, I'm not sure how they came to be in my possession. They probably belonged to a family member. But I used to have the Rod Serling paperback collections of like the adaptations of certain episodes of the Twilight Zone, and I read those when I was in elementary school. And it turns out that I had a deeper connection because I found out later on that one of my favorite episodes starred a relative of mine.
Oh,
yeah. And I learned about that, like doing like family tree stuff and hearing stories. But it's always held a place for me. I mean, I've got my very dog-eared Twilight Zone companion book.
Yeah,
I've had for a while.
There it is.
And I specifically remember because I got into theater and drama and stuff at a young age. And I specifically remember my 8th grade English teacher used to teach everything about symbolism in theater and subtext and everything using episodes of the Twilight Zone. So, like, at least once a week, we would watch an episode and he would break down, this is what's going on here, here, and there. And I remember that was the year that the Rod Serling Lost Episodes CBS special came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 2-parter, and he was, like, all over it because he, like, taped it and we watched it, like 2 weeks later in class. But yeah, it's always been, I've always been a huge fan of it. Even the 80s remake and the early 2000s remake series with Forrest Whitaker, I'm a huge fan of as well.
Excellent. And I see Joey Restivo down there playing with his screens, which usually means he's bored. So,
no. I think I finally figured it out, though, right? You can hear me now, right?
I can hear you, yes.
But for some dumb reason now, one of our earlier podcasts, Jeff, I think someone used their iPhone, and I used my video camera set up here, and the sound quality sucked. So I'm trying to have the best of both worlds, have like a full screen, and also actually get the video quality. And I haven't figured out how to do it. I can do it easily in Google Meet. I just can't do it here.
I really believe this is just a running gag for you because you've been on the show like 7,000 times now. I think that you would know how to use your technology. But all right, what does the Twilight Zone mean to you, Joseph Restivo, not Joseph Alexander?
All right, so Joey, so actually for me, and it might even be the same for you, Jeff. So we grew up, in the 70s when we were younger. We were probably about 8 or 10 years old. There was this local affiliate called WPIX.
Ah, yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So WPIX every night would run The Odd Couple at 11, The Honeymoon is 11:30, Star Trek at 12, and then Twilight Zone at 1.
Listen, I host privilege right now. I need to say that channels like WPIX, WOR, and the WABC 430 movie, things like that are underrated, and people not having those things in their life. You will never understand what it's like to have an entire week with movies after school 5 in a row of Ganara, 5 in a row of World War II, 5 in a row of Godzilla, 5 in a row of the Planet of the Apes. It was just fantastic. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but like New Yorkers, if like people of my age, Generation X, the generation above, the generation just below, think that we're better than you, grew up better than you, we did, because we had those 3 channels, those 3 things.
4th of July Marathon.
Oh my God, yes, so good, so good.
Do you remember Black Belt Theater?
Of course, I remember Black Belt Theater.
And Nightmare Theater.
No, that I don't.
We had Spine Tingler Theater here in Connecticut, but yeah, it was basically
Yeah, and then there was also that thing, Chiller. Remember that hand that would come up out of the ground?
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, I started watching the Twilight Zone probably a lot younger than most people did, because every show was new to me. And I'm not watching at 8 or 10 years old getting creeped out by some crazy ass shit. Even though the special effects were not that good, but like Jeff said, the special effects in Gamera weren't all that great either.
Oh, they're terrible.
so it still scared the crap out of me. And I really just, that's kind of what it, I think back when I saw some of those shows for the first time. I was like, wow, I was like scared shitless.
But the special effects were good for us because we didn't have better special effects to compare it against. The best thing was the Harryhausen, basically Davy and Goliath claymation. So, we love the Planet of the Apes movies where people were clearly wearing ape masks. And fursuits. I mean, so, the special effects were just fine. I remember the show, like UFO Invasion or something, that I saw later as an adult, and the special effects are terrible. I didn't think they were terrible at the time. Anyway, yeah, I watch on WOR too. So, yeah. And I don't think you watched it younger than most, at least people like our age. I think we all watched it around the same time.
Right. So if you didn't have those affiliates, it might not have been on, and I don't know. So I really can't say what it would have been like if you grew up like in California. That if you were 8 or 10 years old, you had easy access to mainstream, or mainline Twilight Zone. Because even then, it was on at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you were like sneaking it, like, and you had to go to school the next day.
And if you grew up in California, actually, quicksand, cougars, and rattlesnakes were actual problems, and you probably died before you were 8. So that's. But
the killer bees never materialized.
No, the killer bees never did. Even the murder hornets weren't really very murdery, very disappointing. All right, Chris, you've been there patient. Tell us about your experience with Twilight Zone, and then you also get to sort of frame for us, without any preparation, sort of what does Twilight Zone represent writ large?
See, I'm kind of a different on this one because I don't remember a lot about Twilight Zone. I might be the youngest person on this panel right now. I grew up in the 80s. I do remember the 80s version of it, kind of, sort of. But I mostly remember the episode with William Shatner with the Gremlin.
Sure.
Because it's like famous. And I remember the movie because of the horrible John Landis situation with Vic Morrow and the 2 kids. I do remember there was a remake that Paramount did with Jordan Peele recently.
Oh yeah, that one too.
That was really, really good from what I saw of it, but I don't have a lot of sensitive experience with the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, Black Mirror is sort of Twilight Zone-ish, except it's the same. It's the same theme over and over again. Where Twilight Zone was sort of, it took from basically short stories and novels and made them into short form movies, which were great. Probably these days they could take any one of those shows and turn it into a 8-episode limited series on Netflix, and probably none of us would complain. But I mean, The Outer Limits.
We have more experience with because it's more of a recent thing. Like their episode standards, like whoa.
Yeah, we could probably spend an entire episode on like guest stars that were on it that went on to greatness and all that, but I think that would divert it. I just have one question because I've never been clear on this. Of course, I've never looked into it. There was the episode where the woman looked like a regular human and everyone else looked like pigs, and so she was the ugly one, and she was, a beautiful.
Eye of the Beholder.
Right.
Oh yeah,
and
that one I remember.
And what I'm not clear about is if it's the same actress that played the normal-looking child on the Munsters, who also, they were always apologizing because she was so ugly, Marilyn. And they were all monsters. And she's like, basically looks like Marilyn Monroe, so why they named her Marilyn. Is it the same actress in both those?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I think they were different actresses.
Yeah, it's probably easy enough to Google, but they sort of had the same look, and I have to believe that Marilyn Munster was inspired by that episode. Which, I mean, that was the funniest joke on the Munsters. It was she's so ugly, and they felt so bad about it, and then she's like a starlet. Anyway, all right. JJ, I think you're probably the most literate of us here in terms of taking erudite concepts and turning them. So when you talk about subtext and things, what was the Twilight Zone? What was the pretext and what was the subtext? And what do you think like its general purpose was?
So the beautiful thing was there was no one base down theme, but between the stuff that Serling wrote, the stuff that Matheson wrote, everything, it was like a very dark version of Aesop's Fables. Yeah. Like there was always a different message that could be said. It's people back then they weren't expecting a twist every time, but there was always a twist. And it was always like a tale of morality, or just a tale of not judging a book by its cover or whatnot. And that was the beautiful thing, was you could search for something different in whatever episode you found. And also, like, some of the episodes went off into they would spin off into even like deeper territory where you would have like Appalachian legend lore thrown in, like with episodes like Jespel, or the Lost episode with the hanging at the bridge. I always forget the full name of it. The incident at Owl Creek Bridge, I think. It was, where it was the soldier who was getting hung at the bridge.
Right.
And his rope snaps, and then he goes through the whole thing, and then it turns out it was all like just his light flashing before his eyes. And that's what was beautiful, was between Serling, Matheson, and a couple of the other writers that did it, they all added something new every week where you could always be surprised. And you could go back, repeat viewing of the Twilight Zone has got to be up there, as far as series go. And there's times you could have watched an episode 3 or 4 times and still catch something new every time you go back and watch it again.
Sure. Which
is a hard thing to do nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. They also went pretty deep, and I mean, they made commentaries on sort of Orwellianism and fascism and racism and see things like the World War II one where the U.S. soldier became a Japanese soldier, and then at the end he became a U.S. soldier. So see things from other people's perspectives and other shoes. And then there were, like you said, just fables where the selfish man who hated, he's basically he hated people. All he wanted to do was read, and finally everyone died, and he's in a vault, and he's like, "This."
At last.
Yeah, he's like, "Great, everyone's gone. All I can do is read," and then he breaks his glasses, and he can't read because he can't see. And it's like,
so sorry for him.
I felt sorry for him too, but it was like you said, it was an Aesop's fable, which you said dark versions, but some of Aesop's fables were a little bit dark also. I was surprised when I was revisiting them. I didn't get that far because I don't know. 20-second stories is not, my thing, but, I don't know. Maybe we should go around and I know that Chris's favorite is the, gremlin on the wing of the plane one, which is actually a really good one, no less because it's William Shatner. Joe Restivo, which is your favorite episode of the Twilight Zone?
I think my favorite episode was, it's really hard to say, but it was really probably tied between Midnight Sun and To Serve Man. And both of those are classic, but I think the follow-up on what we were just talking about before about sort of like lessons, the Maple Street one is really relevant today about how basically, you're going through the whole episode and you think it's really just some glitches with wiring and stuff like that, but it turns out it really is aliens, trying to turn people against each other. And you only find that at the very end. And I think it's really relevant with the tribalism that we're going through sort of today, that how prescient that he was, and say, wow, it's it doesn't take much to set people against each other. And with social media, so basically on fire. All they did was just put the lights on and off. And next thing you know, people killing each other.
And the remake of that they did in Forrest Whitaker series, the remake of the Monsters on Maple Street, where they just based it around Homeland Security and the War on Terror, was even hit it even harder.
Yeah. Right. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
This is where Chris Matthews gets to do his part, because he's going to tell me why I'm wrong that Daredevil Reborn doesn't suck, because they have this it's not even pretext, it's text of basically a play on Homeland Security and ICE going bananas with the anti-vigilante task force stuff. Tell me why I'm wrong that the Daredevil Reborn isn't basically the same episode over and over and again, and that it's really just boring with some good bouts of violence in between, which basically could be any Jason Statham movie.
Okay, so I will preface this by I am a big comic book guy. Grew up reading them. Spider-Man is literally my favorite character. Spider-Man sent you. Eventually I'm going to do that. But the reason why it's not is, and I'm coming from a strictly comic book standpoint, there was an arc a couple years ago called Devil's Reign, where the Kingpin in the comics becomes the Mayor of New York outlaw superhero.
Just like Lex Luthor did in Superman.
This was loosely based off of that. Right. It just so happens that a lot of the things that they did in it parlay into what's happening in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot of people happening with Cricky now and the boys.
Right. A lot of people don't.
Well, a lot of it happened in Babylon 5 with the Home Guard.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people get mad about, I just want to turn my brain off from the real world and just be entertained. It's like, okay, but sometimes entertainment uses real life scenarios to correlate into their show. Yep. So the reason why this was good is more so the story being told. Daredevil, in order to eventually win out, has to make the sacrifice play to reveal Kingpin's crimes that he's doing under the table as governor. He had to reveal, I'm Daredevil. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but at this point you haven't, that's kind of your fault.
I just finished it yesterday.
Spoiler alert. He outs himself as Daredevil in the middle of Karen Page's trial. And just says, basically, he's like, there's someone in this courtroom that knows what you did. That was there when you were committing the crimes you committed while in office. And he goes, because I'm Daredevil. And he reveals himself, proves he's Daredevil, and he eventually goes to jail.
Yeah, that's a mistrial, pal. And Daredevil's a lawyer, and he should have known that.
Tribunal, it wasn't a regular.
It was a tribunal.
Oh, okay.
And Karen Page did get basically released because he outed himself as I can prove this. I proved my client's case because I was there to witness what he was doing. Kingpin has to step down. All this stuff. But the reason why the show is good is because it shows, at least for me, the thing I got is that it showed that despite everything's being stacked against you, as far as the power, the corruption, and everything, that good can win out if you play it smart.
Okay, John Cena. Never give up, and John Cena Jesus, and you can sacrifice yourself. Got it.
No, not John Cena Jesus. It's more of a. I guess I'm coming from a pragmatic place of man, I really the way things are going. I could really use some hope right. That hope would mean something. It's saying okay.
Well, I know comic books too, and I happen to know that every super prison that holds superheroes and supervillains, there's always an escape. So there's always a break-in and a break-out, usually led by Magneto. So
so wait for Spider-Man this time.
Okay, well
Nope. The Defenders are coming.
The Defenders
but
coming.
I'm pretty sure they did I'm pretty sure Spider-Man's breaking him out, and he's that slow-mo scene in the trailer. They did the same thing they did with the 3 Spider-Men that they did for this, and Daredevil's actually not here. He's fighting off the hand.
I am perfectly fine with Spider-Man and the Defenders being involved, though my only question is, will the Defenders involve Doctor Strange, who really was the leader of the Defenders in the comics that I read? And where the hell are they going to put Namor into this? Anyway, not important.
We're up on a tangent.
Yeah, and that's okay.
It was inevitable.
But are they going to also the casting? Are we going to have Michael Couture as Power Man? He's 7 years older, and
He's back.
He's back. Okay, and
he showed up. Jessica Jones is been seen on set.
Yeah, Jessica Jones, I know, and listen, what else is she going to do? She's barely worked since she was in that Orphan Black spinoff, which was awful. Orphan Black Echoes. What about the Iron Fist guy who was terrible? You're doing kung fu and karate at a high level your entire life, and you don't have a single muscle anywhere. What?
He's coming back, and he actually finally took fight training.
I like Iron Fist.
Hate
will
that
be better
guy.
this time.
Okay, yeah,
He's begging for the chance to come back and show what he could do.
Logan Paul should play Iron Fist.
No.
All right. How about main man Max Abrams, main man energy Max Abrams? All right, and is the woman who was the friend who got Hellcat powers when the Netflix show didn't come back? Is she going to come back as Hellcat?
Probably not, because they're probably going with White Tiger's daughter instead.
Yeah, well, okay, that's all right. I like White Tiger's daughter. That's all right. Okay, so that's great. So like the Twilight Zone, we slipped into another dimension. Joey's like, what the hell are you people talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, well, and that's okay, because I'm mad at you because you took my favorite episode of the Twilight Zone, which is To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. So for those who don't know, I mean, I think...
It's a cookbook!
Right. I want to give a little...
It's people!
Right. So
Soil and green.
the premise of this episode is that the aliens come down, and it's sort of like Zorn in The Day the Earth Stood Still, except they're a little bit more active, and they're communicating with us, and they're trying to give us all good things, and they want to take us to their planets, their homeworld. There's a few skeptical scientists, but they get sort of seduced into being very into giving them the benefit of the doubt and being all on board. Meanwhile, they're trying to translate this book all the time. They're doing it almost like No Way Out, where we couldn't imagine it now, but they're trying to get the photo of Kevin Costner, and of course the photo recreation, which would take a half a second now, takes like 3 weeks in the movie. So they get to serve man, and they're sort of stuck there. And so one of the scientists is like, all right, great, I'm definitely going to go. And they're taking, troves and troves of people on these motherships, to go to visit and learn technology. And basically it's going to be like the song Atlantis, where we're going to learn poetry and metallurgy and medicine and all sorts of magic and wonder. And she breaks through his assistant, the other scientists. They finally had a breakthrough. She gets to the police barricade and she leans on. She goes, no, don't go. To serve man. It's a cookbook. But it's too late. The door closes on him and it's too late. So that to me is the greatest. The Simpsons agreed, because they must have put that part in the show like about 1 billion times. But little jokes where they kept doing other lines where one was like, yeah, but it's really nice. And then the next line would be, no, it's more evil. And the next line was like, but it's really nice. And then the next line was like, well, it was like, boo, yay, boo, yay. So the Twilight Zone, though, I think took things that were not mainstream and made them mainstream by giving you an anthology series where something was different every week and interesting, but also talking about issues that probably people didn't want to talk about or probably wouldn't watch otherwise. I mean, I think I know they had an episode that the Holocaust was a subject of it. They had an episode where Japanese internment camps were subjects to it. They had episodes involving, sort of issues with Native Americans before, like anyone in America or anyone in the mainstream was talking about, well, that was pretty shitty what we did. I mean, even if it was just a smallpox by accident, that's still pretty shitty. So it was groundbreaking in so many ways. And I think it influenced the X-Files, which influenced a whole bunch of other shows. And still we're being influenced by it to this day. JJ is shaking his head vociferously. So build on that. Build on these thoughts that are really half thoughts. Or build on the thoughts that are full thoughts. Build on my ziggurat of Twilight Zone thoughts.
Okay. Well, actually, I wanted to add on that Jordan Peele actually did a second part to Deserve, the second season of his, which through the first half of the episode, you don't even realize it's a continuation of Deserve Man, and then all of a sudden, you see the aliens, and you're like, oh, I know what's coming. And it was a really good riff on consumerism. Like that was the whole basis of that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's I mean, there's so much. Wow. As far as my favorite episodes, probably a tie. One is partial because, like I said, relative. Last Stop at Willoughby.
Tell us about it.
Is about the ad exec who keeps falling asleep on the train, and then he wakes up and the conductor is like, Willoughby, and it's like this picture perfect like Norman Rockwell town, and it's every time he's like, next time I'm going to get off of Willoughby, and then eventually like he gets off of Willoughby and you find out that he jumped off the train and died.
Right.
And Willoughby was the name of the funeral hearse. But basically, yeah, he was just having a breakdown. But yeah, my great uncle was the conductor on the train.
Oh, was that the one where you had a relative on there? Oh, that's cool.
James Maloney. He was a stage and radio actor way back in the day. And then my other favorite would probably be The Invaders, which was the 1961 season. That was the one where you basically get the intro, and it's like this old woman sitting in a cabin, like on the side of a mountain, just sitting there, like, fire going, no electricity, like a simpler place, a simpler time, yada yada. And then like she starts hearing things, and then like she sees like these little like alien men, and she starts panicking and like swatting them with a broom and all that shit. Like she goes up and she goes up into like her attic and she finds their ship, and she starts like smashing the ship. And then like the last thing you're hearing, you don't realize that there's been no dialogue the entire episode. And then you hear from the ship, mission control to NASA, discovered a planet of giants, mission abort, all is lost, yada yada. And she just like smashes it all to hell. And it's like, yeah, that was the twist, was,
she's the monster.
Right. She's the monster. Well, and the thing is, she's just protecting her home.
Right.
She doesn't know that these little guys mean no harm.
Right.
And that's the ongoing story of people always are quick to judge and quick to panic when they are faced with something that they are unfamiliar with.
Right. The Lilliputians found their way to Gulliver.
Yes, cinematography.
It was like seeing that for the first time when you're like 8 years old at 1 a.m. There were these little creatures and stuff, and it kind of reminds you of like when you saw the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the original one for the first time. Yep. It's like these little things. Like I was afraid of these, but just the way they did it. And you didn't really see that they were like, astronauts until the very end. Just her up against everything, there being no dialogue, just scared the crap out of it.
And it was such brave choices, and they were so unafraid. All right, here's the one that created like an entire genre of what people call like, creepy spaghetti now, creepy pasta, but like ghost stories and urban myths in the 70s and the 80s. And it would act, and I think there was an homage to it in its own way in the Netflix series, one of the few that I liked recently. I think it was called Something Very Bad Is About to Happen, where you keep seeing like the mysterious stranger. But the one where they're driving the car and they keep seeing the hitchhiker, and he's like, go on my way or whatever. And, wherever they go, they see him, they keep driving, they pass him, they're not going his way, but they keep, they go past the next town, there he is. They look in the rearview mirror, there he is. And at some point they realize it's just the psychopomp. It's the angel of death. He's there to guide you home because you're dead. And it's just, they have to realize that they're dead. And once they realize they're dead, it's actually it's a slow turning, like John Hyatt said, but it's a peaceful thing. Once, it sort of gives them the time they need to realize they're dead. Sort of like in Lost. They just needed the time to realize that they were ready to die and move on. If that's in fact what it was.
I like King's riff on that in Creepshow 2.
Tell us.
Well, the third story in Creepshow 2 was this woman's like she's late coming home because she's cheating on her husband, and she accidentally hits the hitchhiker. Right.
Thanks for the ride, lady.
Thanks for the ride, lady. And he keeps showing up.
Okay.
It was like the darker riff on that, where it was like, yeah, you're dead.
But there's also I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is it's sort of the same thing. But what I have a question. Was there ever an actual time where somebody picked up a hitchhiker and the hitchhiker killed them in real life? Did that actually happen?
There's been a few times, yeah.
Okay.
Once.
Like what? Okay.
It's
So
definitely happened.
okay. I mean,
Actually, there's been several times where it's been a cop, and that's what it's been a cop. It's been a cop who's like pulled over someone and then killed.
that I've heard, and and it's usually a real cop, not a fake cop.
Right.
But I think there was. I mean, that's also an urban legend where like people would dress up as cops, pick you up, and then like do horrible things to you. I don't know that ever happened. I mean, there's been, Uber drivers who have killed people. Of course, there's been like Uber drivers who've been killed by people. I mean, we are a horrible species. I mean, at least cats, won't hide it from the day they're kittens. They're hunting and trying to kill you. I still have scars from like when the cats were like 4 weeks old and like they're trying to, find the alien in my belly, trying to dig it out there. Monsters, little murderers. Love those little murderers.
Still swipes at me when I pet him.
Oh my god, the cat is like one of them like launched itself and jumped and like launched itself to the back of my thigh, trying to climb up like he's Daredevil trying to scale a wall or something. And of course he slides down the whole thing with his claws still in there. And I don't know, but they sleep with their mom. They cuddle with her all night, and me they try to find ways to murder me all the time. I mean, and normally I don't blame people for trying to murder me, but like I've done nothing to these cats except nice things. I think they just think that it's actually fun for me to be attemptedly murdered, which I just murdered the English language. So that's that. Were there any killer cats in any Twilight Zones? It seems like there should be.
Jezebel
was winning. Tails on turns for the dark side.
Okay, but you said Jezebel?
Yeah. Buster Poindexter.
Buster Poindexter played it like a hitman that was hired by
William Hickey.
The actor's name.
William Hickey
to kill a cat. And the cat eventually kills Buster Poindexter.
Of course.
By going inside his mouth and just like going down his throat and just popping out of his mouth.
What was Buster's Poindexter pre-Buster Poindexter name? Like, wasn't like he was like a
Johansson.
Right? He was a real singer. He was like in a real group.
Yeah.
He was a New York Doll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but Twilight Zone reference to a cat. So in the original Twilight Zone movie with what was her name? She's only like 6 years old. From Poltergeist, Drew Barrymore. So remember there was a monster living in her wall.
That was Cat's Eye.
That was Cat's Eye. Okay, all right. Yeah. Very similar to Twilight Zone. Okay.
It was anthology. Yeah.
There's a monster living in her wall, and their parents don't believe it. And then finally, the cat actually has it out with this little troll.
Yeah. Yep.
And at the very end, they find like this little sword. Who's that? Yep. Cat's Eye. Yeah.
As far as Twilight Zone though, Jezebel, it was an old Appalachian witch tale, and Jezebel would turn into mountain lion. Well, a mountain lion or a panther or a cougar, depending on which part of the episode it was.
Yeah, well, they're synonyms, as is puma. So, but that's a cougar. See again, one of those animals. Growing up, I thought was going to be a much bigger problem in my life. I was afraid. Anytime I'm near a mountain, there's going to be a cougar that's going to attack me. There's going to be scorpions and rattlesnakes under all sorts of rocks. I actually saw scorpions when I was in Arizona. They're really small. I know there's like billions of species of them of different sizes. And like basically lobsters are basically undersea scorpions, more or less. And, they're delicious. So I don't know what any of this means. All I know is that those things turned out not to be the problems I thought they were. But there was a short time.
Cats you need to worry about is one of the big cats.
About
jaguars are the ones you need to worry about. They are nightmares.
Yeah, but there's jaguars don't. They don't generally range. I think like every now and then there's a couple like in the American South, but like they're basically in South America to the extent that they even still exist, and it's like one per 500 miles.
Well,
yeah, no, they have like amongst the strongest jaws of mammals. I think it's like a hippopotamus then a jaguar.
Yeah, they are.
Like I think jaguars have stronger jaws than like tigers and lions.
Yes.
Now, tigers and lions have stronger everything else. So
yeah,
their size,
they have the strongest bite. Big cats.
Alligators were never really like a thing, but if you play golf in Florida, it's like that's actually a real serious thing to worry about. Don't go near that little lake over there. You may just get snapped up.
Yeah, well, Florida is its own little system of dangers. I fully believe that cougars and mountain lions are dangerous. Well, they can't be mountain lions in Florida. There's no mountains. But cougars, alligators, pythons, I mean, everybody with their wild exotic animals that they just release because they couldn't deal with them. And they don't want to get a felony charge by admitting I smuggled in a baby tiger and all of that. Yeah, so in Florida, I fully believe it all. I mean, what I am surprised about is that more people weren't caught trying to dump like a 6-month-old lion over the fence of Lion Country Safari or one of the or zoo or something like that, and just do it that way instead of. I guess there's cameras and shit, so they just dump them in the Everglades or whatever, where they probably become alligator food.
Or they dump weird exotic fish, like the snakehead fish, into a pond in Maryland. It becomes a problem.
Yeah, and now half the people in Maryland are snakeheads. It's true. The reptilians are taking over.
Dropping this fish that eats everything in the environment would be an ecological danger. Oh, sure.
Did we have any reptilians in the Twilight Zone? Speaking of reptilians, I mean, I remember V, but that's its own thing.
Right, and V was basically a riff on To Serve Man.
Right.
I thought that was, what's crazy? That only went one season.
I think both times it only went one season.
I thought it went longer. That went more than one season, right?
The original was literally just 2 miniseries. It was V and then V the Final Battle, and then the one that was done in the 2000s.
Okay, I don't know her name, but the woman who was the star of the miniseries is. It seemed like she was in a lot of things in a very short period of time. I thought she was going to be a giant star, and she wasn't. But her having twins, and one came out normal, and then the one was a green lizard baby, was the greatest. That was the practically the greatest ending. That's not To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. Don't go on the ship. I mean that's absolutely fantastic. The newest V gave the world Marina Baccarin, or which sadly I just saw Greenland too, which is quite possibly the least inspired movie I've ever seen in my life.
No, I haven't watched it yet. That was me.
Don't. I've seen worse movies. I just haven't seen worse movies where nobody tried.
I mean, after the first Greenland, I was like, they're making a sequel to this? Why? Right?
Because it made too much money not to. That's the only reason why, and that's exactly what everyone decided. Let's just do it. It's so...
You want zero effort, watch last year's War of the Worlds remake.
Seriously.
That was so funny. That movie...
Oh, it was entertaining. It was.
The guys will be me and my channel. We did a full watch along of it, riffing it.
I literally cried laughing watching it. Just Ice Cube reading off a teleprompter screen.
Right, reading off his screen in front of a green screen.
Analysis, this is the thing. Can you read? What is happening? Zoom called the movie. What is this mess?
It's like Clark Gregg not even trying, his phone's just sitting down here.
Clark Gregg may be one of the luckiest people on earth. I mean, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying that he hasn't deserved, but how that guy who's been basically bald since he was in his 20s, there was on the old adventures of New Christine, or the new adventures of old Christine, and then went on to be in 900 Marvel properties, and probably will be in others. He's probably owns half of Palantir or something now. It's off of that. It's just amazing. But yeah, and his always the same role, always calm with that very pleasant voice. It's, I don't know. Good for him.
That's what he's like on New Adventures of Old Christine. He's always trying to calm her down.
Yeah.
See, Amazon has had some of the worst movies of the past couple of months like that. War of the Worlds was bad. Playdate was horrifically bad.
Roadhouse.
Tomorrow War was bad. Creator was bad.
Remake of Roadhouse. House with Jake Gyllenhaal?
That was actually fun because like, Conor McGregor just walking in like slow, like all roided up was hilarious.
Conor McGregor is all roided up.
Yeah, he showed up like
I know it's a stretch.
it was like wow, he ate Conor McGregor. What? Come on.
I remember when COVID first came out, Joe Hendry was wrestling with Ring of Honor, and then they brought him back when he could come back from Australia. And Joe Hendry before, I mean, he was an in shape guy, but he was skinny. He was like, sort of a short of Matt Taven. And when he came back, he's bigger than he is now. He's sort of like Rusev size. So he came, and it literally looked like Joe Hendry ate Joe Hendry, but creatine blend. I mean, it worked out for him. It was the same guy, it was the same song, and I believe, though, he was blonde now instead of brunette, and that also worked out for him well.
Brunette, he looked like Jake Gyllenhaal.
He did look a little bit like Jake Gyllenhaal, you're right. Especially when he did Mysterio, when Jake Gyllenhaal was Mysterio and then had to...
I mean, I'm happy for Joe Hendry, though. Really,
sure.
He deserves to be on the big stage.
And, and he'll deserve it for about another 2 years until people get bored of him, and then, he'll
We'll see.
fall back down the ladder.
It's working for now.
It might be more like 4 years, but if you actually look back on wrestling, how many people actually had more than like 5-year big time careers? It's
other than Hogan.
I mean, I would say percentage wise in wrestling, like, is it more than 5%?
Oh no, it's not more than 5%. Because you're looking at like a broad spectrum.
Yeah, and I will just limit it to people who've made it to TV wrestling.
Right.
What's that?
Stone Cold probably would have been longer than his run was, but his neck just kind of gave out.
I mean, I know The Rock's come back a whole bunch of times, but his time actually as a full-time wrestler was probably only about 5 years. Right.
Yeah, might have been 4.
The Warrior, something like that. I mean, Brutus Beefcake had a longer actual active wrestling career than that.
He's still going.
Yeah.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he still takes any bookings.
I tell you.
Super nice guy.
I don't know, Jeff. Those guys used to watch on WPIX at 12 o'clock on Saturday night. It seemed like some of those guys were around for a long time.
Yeah, but if you look back, like one of the saddest things, like people always like, who are your favorite tag teams? And so like 10 years ago, I'm talking this, and I'm like, Doom is like my top 4 tag. It's like Doom was together for 18 months. I'm like, what? They were? Huh? Oh, yeah. And like Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas were my favorite tag team growing up.
They weren't together that long.
They didn't like each other, and they were together like 10 months. It's like the total. They held the titles for 3 months. I didn't even remember how short. I remember it was short, and I'm like, how'd they lose to this 2 big fat guys? And yeah, well, they hated each other.
My favorite has always been the Steiner Brothers. I absolutely love those games.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Steiner Brothers too. The Steiner Brothers versus the Road Warriors. I mean, I watched Steiner Brothers versus the Road Warriors versus Doom versus the Russians like my entire life and still be happy.
Actually, I think my favorite match they ever had was them versus Dr. Death and Terry Gordy.
Oh, Dr. Death and Terry Gordy is such a good team.
The Miracle Violence Connection. I was at this is going to sound like complete BS, but it's not. I was at the show at the Baltimore Arena where Ron Simmons Vader for the world title.
Nice.
Why is that going to sound like it's bullshit?
Because people think it's like, yeah, whatever, man. You weren't there. Like, no, I was really there.
I mean,
because that same night,
someone had to be at a show.
It's forgotten about because of Ron Simmons' win. Jake Roberts debuted for WCW that same day because he attacked Sting, and that's how Ron Simmons got the match. Because it was supposed to be Vader versus Sting, right? And Sting got taken out.
Ah.
So they did some draw, and Ron Simmons won it, and that's how he won the title.
I didn't remember that. So, I mean, it's not like they were selling out ever. It's like when I was a kid, I thought everything sold out. It's like people went to a show, I'm like, you got tickets? It's like now, I'll wait for the ticket price to come down. But I was at the show at the Baltimore Arena where Flair, they finally had to give up that Flair was coming back. They announced that he basically walked out on them to the crowd. We're like, what? And all of a sudden, Lex Luger's in a steel cage, and James J. Dillon walks out with Barry Windham, and James J. Dillon was Lex Luger's manager like 5 minutes earlier. It's like, what?
Flair protest show.
Yeah, and that was our main event, and like we're all like, what the hell? What's happening here? This is terrible. But we're talking about wrestling, which is not the Twilight Zone. It's its own kind of Twilight Zone, as you can see.
It's funny. My best friend growing up, I was there at that show with him.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend from college, who I hadn't even met yet, was down at the same show. And we found out we were both there. It's like, oh man, what's the one show? What do you remember going to? It's like, I was there for Ron Smith on the title. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why? It's like, because I was there too. I'm like, stop. He was like, Jake Roberts debuted at the same show. I'm like, okay, we're there. The arena blew up that day. It was just the one that was memorable. It was crazy how loud that place got.
No, yeah, I mean that was history. Ron Simmons was the first Black World Champion, at least in that company. I was never really clear on Ernie Ladd as to what title he had, and I mean I was, but I've long since forgot. Anyway, we're talking about wrestling, and poor Steve was saying, "Going wrestling sucks." So.
I don't know much about wrestling, but I was thinking about tag teams. I had to look it up, and I remember the Executioners, right, from back in the day, right? And then also there is a tangentially related to show that I've been watching now that related to wrestling called Margot's Got Money Problems, where
Nick
it's
Offerman,
really
right?
amusing. Nick Offerman plays like a retired wrestler. He ends up living with his daughter, who's Elle Fanning, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Nicole Kidman are in it. It's amusing. It's like background noise.
Okay,
it's funny.
Let me tell you a story about this show.
Retired wrestlers actually kind of really funny.
What
Chavo Guerrero put him through the ringer for a few weeks.
What channel is this on? What network?
It might be on Apple.
Okay, so I don't have Apple, so that's what
I know, Jeff. You're like anti-Apple.
I'm not anti-Apple. I'm anti-subscribing to more services. I have no position against any particular company whatsoever. I've just limited myself to the services I have. But funny story about that show. So I have a friend from back from my old professional life days when I actually was a professional and respected and things like that. And in the group called the Commercial Law League of America, when I was coming in as an actual young member, either the president of the young members or the former president of the young members, it's kind of like, your accountant job at the church there. You have an not-for-profit with all these titles and divisions and sects and things like that. So his name is Ivan. And his daughter, who I'm sure I met a bunch of times as, she's a little girl. She probably even met my kids when they were little kids, because the summer conference, you would often bring your families. And because he was a big maca, he would, oftentimes bring his family, because a lot of times the chair and whatever, Anyway, she's a producer for A24. So she worked on the show Girls. She worked on Euphoria. She worked on all sorts of stuff. And she's working on this show as well. And so he actually put me in contact on her, and but she can't do media. They only have the stars do media. And so for a while, he's like, yeah, well, I'm sure she can get you Nick Offerman or Nicole Kidman or, some of the other people. I'm like, oh, that would be even better. And now I see Nick Offerman's like on Talk is Jericho and shit. So they must have figured out. I'm like, I can also tell her which are the big shows. Even if I don't like them, I can tell which are the ones with the biggest audiences or whatever. But I don't know. I got blown off, screwed again, Heisman again. I'm always this close to something great, but I never quite get to something great. But yeah, yeah. But she's got like 2 Emmys like already, and she's like maybe 32. Which is one more than Super Panda, who got For the Righteous Gemstones. Super Panda, who were both in Orlando at the same time, both at the same show, both in the same building, and I only catch him afterwards on the screen, and he knew I was there. I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends. What's a great show?
The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, well, no, it's not, because Super Panda worked on it. He's dead to me. So I so many people I think are my friends that aren't my friends. I mean, Joey was witness to one of them, Atrocity Cruel. We were going to do an Alien Earth show with Atrocity Cruel, and then he ghosted me. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not saying I sent someone to stab him at an indie show, but, I'm not saying I'm not either. No, I didn't do that. That's terrible. Nobody stabbed anybody. It's bad.
No one got stabbed anyway that day.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Allegedly. All right, back to the Twilight Zone. Let's try and get this thing on some tracks here. Joey, you've been sort of in the corner there, like baby in Dirty Dancing, because we've been talking wrestling nonsense. Bring us back home with something Twilight Zone-y.
And so there's like, I'm only like talking like an underrated episode. So we talked about like Disturbed has that like cliffhanger ending where like just dramatic ending. There was another one, I don't remember the name of it, but there's a guy who's in a hospital and he keeps having these dreams about like a nurse, and she keeps trying to coax him into the morgue by saying, "Room for one more, honey. Room for one more, honey."
Yeah,
right.
It's called Room for One More.
And then at the very end, they're getting on a plane, walking not through a jetway, but up like those stairs that they used to have, like, you know, maybe like 50 years ago, got on a plane. And she pops her head out. She's the stewardess. And she's like, "Room for one more, honey." And the person just, I forget if it's either a guy or a girl, just like completely freaks out. And then the plane crashes. So to me, that was just like really just like overrated. It was also really creepy because it's happening sort of like in the basement of a hospital, and you're in the morgue, whatever. And I'm only like 8 years old. First time I'm seeing this. I never hear anyone talk about that one as being sort of like just like ultimate, just twist at the end. And another one I feel like that was, I'm not sure if it was all the Martians or whatever, but a spaceship lands, they end up at a diner, the police are convinced that there's an alien there, right? Everyone gets back on the bus, there's only 2 people left, and one guy reaches out an extra arm, and then the other guy pulls his hat back.
He's got the eyeball. Because they're like, there's an alien invasion, and so they're trying to figure out who it is. And afterwards, right, exactly. There's actually 2 alien species, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we already got here for you."
Yeah.
But yeah, Room for One More, they actually ripped on in the children's book series, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The first volume, there was a riff on Room for One More, but it was a guy seeing someone driving a hearse who would keep pulling up and saying, "There's room for one more, there's room for one more." And then he's in an office building, and the elevator doors open, and the operator of the elevator is the hearse driver. And he says, "There's room for one more." He's like, "Nope." And then the elevator crashes and everyone dies.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, if you think about it, there's the entire sort of like enterprise that was created from one that was called Talking Tina. You think about it, like Child's Play is basically Talking Tina.
I'm Talking Tina. I don't like you.
I might kill you. And like you think about some of the stars you see, so it's like Telly Savalas. It's like, oh my god, that's Kojak, because you're watching like Kojak like in prime time, and then you're seeing Kojak, Telly Savalas like from like years before in black, white, that whatever. You start seeing like actors that you recognize. Like the same thing like with William Shatner. It's like I've seen him in Star Trek before I saw him in Twilight Zone, because there's shows that I would watch and sort of in a disjointed order. It's like really interesting how you see.
Chris saw him in T.J. Hooker before he saw him in Twilight Zone.
Well, I think Jack Klugman was in 1 or 2.
I was just going to say Klugman.
And also another very underrated one with Charles Bronson, I think, in Elizabeth Montgomery. Like they're both soldiers on different sides, and the whole city's like gone to shambles. And she's like the Russian soldier, and he's like the American soldier. Like they don't want to talk to each other.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yep. Okay. Yep, that was one of the ones on the reformation of the planet was basically the moral at the end. That was one of them. And then there was the other one where there was the guy who crash landed on the planet, and his his co-pilot died, and then he finds a woman, and they can't speak to each other, and basically he tells her his last name is Adam, and she figures out how to word his name, and so like he names her Eve, and then he picks it up. He was like, "This is Earth," and and that was like the walk away. Yep.
Aww.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember the one with the 2 spies. There was one too. The Man in the Cave. James Coburn was in it. Where it was like basically it was like a post atomic bomb part of the country or whatever. Like somewhere got bombed, and basically like they're trying to figure out survival, and they're like, "Oh, we found all these canned goods, and they were pre-bomb." And then like this one older guy was like, he would be like, "I just talked to the Man in the Cave," and he says, "No, don't touch it." And then like James Coburn comes rolling into town with like some of his troops. They were like, an army regiment, and he basically tells them, he's just like, "The Man in the Cave's a joke. Like, do whatever you want." And he's like, "No, you need to listen." And they're like, and then like basically like there's a whole revolt, and they go up and they follow him, and he's like, "You can't talk to the Man in the Cave." and then they just like they get past the dude and they open it up and it's just a computer inside, like it's like a NORAD computer, and they just smash it, and then they end up all like dying of food poisoning because of the things they weren't supposed to. Like, and there's like just the one guy left, and they have to like wander around to find what's.
Aw. Yeah, sure. Listen to the man in the cave. That's I mean,
And there's one episode, another one I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. It's probably really stupid thinking back at it. I just like saying it, and my wife thinks I'm nuts when I say it. This guy and his wife go to Las Vegas, and he like tells her not to gamble anything. It's all rigged, whatever else. The slot machines back then, exactly. The slot machines back then just looked so cheap.
A friend of mine has that slot machine.
Oh, really? So anytime I hear the word Franklin, like it's Franklin Street, whatever else, I go Franklin. Right. So the slot machine, Jerry, if you haven't seen this one, Chris, you haven't seen the slot machine like starts like chasing around the hotel room and stuff and calling his name. And it's saying Franklin almost like it's saying it through like a gravelly voice through like a bunch of like coin, like Franklin. So
I mean, all these inspirations for Stephen King, things where machines come to life because they're possessed. It's, and of course, Talking Tina. I mean, where there'd be no Chucky or Megan or any of those things without Talking Tina. I mean, probably not anyway. Who really knows?
There's a movie that she should have never been.
Which one?
Megan 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
Let's take everything that was great about the first movie and do something completely different.
And they took a swing. They decided not to be safe.
Well, we'll find out when we see Dust Bunny too.
Yeah, that was a surprising movie. I can't tell you how many horror movies that I was really excited by their premise, and the execution was just like Abigail. Like, to me, that seemed fantastic.
I haven't watched that.
Don't.
It's on my list. I just haven't watched it.
It's so disappointing. It's just
Really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just bad, and it should have been fantastic. Brightburn should have been fantastic. I don't know. It just makes me sad. Like, most movies shouldn't be redone, but others, they almost really, really should. And those are two that really, really should. Jennifer's Body just made it to Netflix, and like a lot of people don't like Jennifer's Body, and for the life of me,
I like the unrated version.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I don't know which version I saw, but I like it, and like it's almost too late for the sequel. But we had a demon who bode her time escaping from a women's prison to find some information she needed, and then she just sort of killed everyone and left, and like she's roaming out there, and like why doesn't someone pick this up and run with it? We've had like 4,000 Saw movies. I mean, and the Hostel, and someone's redoing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre again. I don't get it. Listen, I'm cool with someone being sawed in terrible ways by a chainsaw. That sounds that could be awesome.
After seeing Terrifier,
right? Everything David Leon's done with that series. Like,
you can't really. Chainsaw is like light work compared to
I'm okay with.
He already proved Chainsaw in Terrifier 3. He's like, watch this.
I'm still good with chainsaws.
The first where he saw the girl in a hat.
With a hacksaw. It's like, oh, jeez. And the impressive thing about that is not only that it's practical effects, but it was practical effects done on such a low budget and made it look so good. That's the beauty of it. I have to explain it to the guys that I do my movie podcast with, because they're like, Terrifier is trash, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if you watch it from the appreciation of how much money he had to work with it and the fact that he stayed practical, you get a whole new appreciation.
Yeah.
So like the original Evil Dead.
Right. Right. Raimi had a lot to deal with, and to be able to produce that, hell yeah.
And that's like the creepiest thing like ever. And, it's like the first time you see that, it's like, oh my God.
Right?
Like Evil Dead Burn looks good.
Does it?
Yeah, I haven't watched Rise yet, but I'm gonna watch. Yeah,
Evil Dead Rise was really good.
No, it wasn't. Evil Dead Rise is another one that should have been good. Like the beginning was good.
High-rise building?
No,
it's the self-contained.
Yeah. The last 10 minutes is about some of the greatest blood splattering you'll ever see. But like the entire middle of the movie, which is basically, I don't know, if the movie's 50 minutes long, it's not 50 minutes long. If it's 70 minutes long, the 50 minutes in the middle is utterly useless.
I mean, it plays on an idea that is like the worst fear of every child. Like, you have an intimate trust in your parents, and it's just like you're the
yeah, but I'm an adult already. I learned a long time ago. My parents are just people.
yeah, but you have an inherent like thing in you, like when you're scared.
I'm going to see them later for Mother's Day. I'm fully expecting them to try to murder me.
Like it's just an inherent thing. Like you see, when you think about like you're scared or something, you need something, you go to your parents. But in this case, if you go to your mom, you're gonna die.
Okay, well, you don't die. You're gonna come back to life as a horrid zombie, and you could you'd be with each other forever. If they really loved her, they would join her.
So I don't want to ruin it for him.
Right.
But,
yeah. That actually kicks back to another episode of the Twilight Zone, though. It was, and it was one of the ones where for some reason there was a Robbie the Robot appearance, which happened a lot in the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
They reused a lot of Forbidden Planet props.
Yep.
Nice. But it was the one where it was the father that it was like the father was like an inventor and he was really emotionally abusive to his daughter, and basically like she loses it, she ends up shoving him down the stairs into his workshop, and he dies. But apparently, before he died, he like put his he basically like didn't put his conscience into, but he programmed a robot, and so she had to be the caretaker for the robot, who was basically her father. And she ends up like pushing the robot down the stairs, and so they're like the robot's like got a cane. It's Robbie's robot, but he's got a cane, he's invalid, and he's just like yelling at his daughter. So she never escapes the abuse of her father ever in her life. And it's like this ultimate tragedy of, she tried to get out of the situation and she did it the wrong way and it ended up backfiring on her twice.
Yeah. See what those kids escaped in The Evil Dead Rises? So, anyway, I think we
can't say anything because JJ hadn't seen it. But
I'm sure he can figure it out. It's an Evil Dead movie.
Here's 4 lady movies for anybody that hadn't seen.
All right.
Check that out.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's just I have a very large queue right now.
It's fine. The movies that I want to see, regardless of how old they are, they're not free. And I don't know why. And I don't know why that is. I mean, some of them that aren't that old, I get it. They run on Hulu, then they put them on another, Paramount Plus for a year or whatever. I mean, I understand that. And I get a pretty good supply of first run movies I haven't seen before because I've probably gone to the movies 4 times in the last 3 years. So,
I still go to the movies. That's why I don't feel bad about pirating some things because I still pay to go to the movie.
I don't know. I mean, my wife.
I am so psyched to see Backrooms movie in a couple of weeks.
That looks really good.
My wife doesn't love movies, so
I have been a fan of that kid since he started his YouTube series, and the fact that A24 took such a gamble on an 18-year-old kid to build out this world and write and direct this movie, like I cannot wait.
Yeah, you're a cinephile. You should talk to the Spitball Media people.
It's also the guy that did the Creep tapes, right?
No, different kid. Kane Parsons is a completely different person from the guy that did the Backrooms. Maybe the director, maybe like the assistant director on it might have worked on the Creep tapes, but Kane is doing his own thing, and that's why he wrote everything. And the beautiful thing is how they're going to balance it between all the lore that he has built with the YouTube series to see what's going to be incorporated into the movie, because it's this whole thing about the Hadron Super Collider and opening up a pocket universe, and scientists that were rescued through Operation Paperclip. There's a whole lot of lore there.
Well, Joey's listening. Joey's interested.
Really amazing.
Well, you got me on the LHC.
If you go on YouTube and find Kane Pixels, and you'll find his entire Backroom series and everything regarding this company called Async Research and the Department of Energy, and how they had been basically working on opening up a pocket dimension for the past 40 years. And everything takes place in the 90s in the series, which is why the movie takes place in the but it's some amazing shit. This kid's a genius.
Well, that sounds sort of Twilight Zone in its own way.
Oh yeah, it is.
A lot of stuff could be Twilight Zone.
Really, really
Yeah. Okay, so let us wrap this up by everyone making one recommendation that if you're going to introduce someone to the Twilight Zone or something inspired by a Twilight Zone, so I'm giving you a lot of latitude, tell them which one episode or property would you have them watch to be their introduction into the Twilight Zone. And I will start with Joey Restivo.
Well, I mean, if they've never seen any Twilight Zone episodes before, I would recommend Midnight Sun. I think it really just wraps itself up really well, and I think it ages pretty well too. It doesn't really have a lot of tech in it, you know, and it's just something that could happen today. It's just that's in black and white. And I think what also is great is that it ends. You almost think it's going to end on this twist. Oh, it was all a dream. Well, yeah, it was kind of a dream, but it was almost like a nightmare. There's a lot of times things end with, oh, it was just a dream. So I think that's the ultimate twist at the end, because they get you thinking it was just a dream, and the person just woke up from the dream, has something else going on. I won't spoil any more of it, so if that's what you want to do, check it out. Midnight Sun.
Okay. Chris Matthews.
I would probably advise people to go back and watch the original series. That would be my best bet for advice for people that want to get into the Twilight Zone. To watch the original series.
Well, you have to pick one. They can't just start with the whole series.
I mean, the only thing I've got that I remember distinctly is the Gremlin episode on the plane. That's
Terror 25,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say Terror 25,000 feet.
All right.
Plus, it's William Shatner too, so it's probably some of his best stuff.
I mean, I have an innate fear. I had a fear of flying for that exact. I don't like flying, so that's probably part of why I don't like flying. But that was my recommendation.
Okay, Mr. President, Sinister Minister.
If there was one episode that we haven't already mentioned, because there's always that classic amount of, Eye of the Beholder, Terror 25,000 feet, Time Enough at Last. Those are all like the big classics that everyone says. If you want, I would suggest if you want one that may hit a little home, especially for like more modern like horror and suspense viewers, I would say Mirror Image, which was actually kind of the inspiration for Jordan Peele's Us.
Okay, very cool. All right. Well, I think those are great recommendations for everyone. I want to thank the guests who answered the guest signal and actually came out. And, in some ways, sometimes it seemed like a show about nothing. But for the most part, we stuck to the Twilight Zone, which was our mandate. But, we went into wrestling and other horror and other stuff like that. So does everyone want to take a turn and tell people where they can? I know Restivo really doesn't want to be found and followed. He's semi-retired. He wants to be left alone. Unless you're in his area of North Carolina, you can come out and see his Doors cover band play. Where are you? You're like in the Wilmington, North Carolina area, Greensboro, Greensboro, right?
We call ourselves the Triad. The rally area is called the Triangle.
Oh, okay. So you're in Horseman country, but you're the Triad. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you can see the Crockett Cup while listening to Doors music, because NWA is on Comet now. And there's already people saying, they're faking the Nielsen numbers. They can't fake the Nielsen numbers. Idiots who somehow...
it's a pretty high number,
never mind. So... I know who's saying.
Yeah, it's.
I was going to say, who's dumb enough to say that? Never mind.
What they came up with is that the average show in primetime gets 92,000 viewers. Of course, because the average show is like the I Love Lucy show or like the Dick Van Dyke show. So if there's anything that's new that has any bit of a larger base of appeal, of course it's going to get more viewership. Now, listen, I think 275 is a high number too. No, I don't think they're going to hold 275.
I thought it aired at like 4 p.m.
It airs at all sorts of different times. It's 2 p.m. where I am, but it does answer the question for me, is that we could have been getting Ring of Honor ratings, aggregate ratings, all those years that was on Sinclair. They just chose not to give it to us. So there's always a little knowledge to be gleaned everywhere. All right, Matthews, if you want to be found and follow, where can they find and follow you?
Okay, so you can find me on the Minorities Report, at the Minorities Report. You can find me on Bucks and News on the Rich Dow channel. You can find me at my own channel at Chris Matthews 420. And I'm on X at C. I don't know because I don't remember my own tag at CMAT666.
You can see him fight with people a lot. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop.
Like I try to stop. All right, JJ, how about you? Where can they find and follow you? There's all sorts of places. I know that.
Yeah, but you can find my channel on both YouTube and Odyssey. It's the Full Circle Radio Network. It's at Full Circle Radio. That's where you'll find White Heat, which is our wrestling podcast. Wildcard Cinema, which is our movie our Blind Draw movie review podcast. We're about to start season 4 of that in a couple of weeks. Cinematic Jackass, which is our Mystery Science Theater style watch along, which we're actually recording our next episode of tomorrow, so that'll be out later this week. And also a couple of other odds and ends shows that I do once in a while on there. I also just dropped my first movie fan edit. There's a commercial for that on the channel, and I dropped a DJ mixtape. There's a commercial for that on the channel.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been trying to keep busy. But yeah, that's Full Circle Radio on both YouTube and Odyssey, and you can find me on X at JJ_Alexander.
You might never promote a wrestling show again at this rate.
I mean, I'd like to, but eventually.
Okay. All right. Well, for those of you who are here by accident or you followed any of these gentlemen to be here, thanks for being here. This is Garden of Thought. You can find me on YouTube at Garden of Thought Pod, one word. There's like 130-something subscribers or 150-something subscribers, which is great. But now also I'm greedy and I want 1,000 because 1,000 is, in my mind, the right number to switch the technology, invest in different technology so that this becomes a video show as well as an audio show. I already have the ability to go live based on subscribers, but I don't have the technology to do that. And I think that would be good with especially some of the guests I have and especially some of the wrestlers who have good faces and voices for TV and radio, whereas I primarily have a face for radio. Joey's already sending me a outro. I mean, the Twilight Zone from Golden Earring. Actually, that's a pretty good choice. And
I was going to give you the opportunity to make it seem like it was your idea.
It never needs.
But I appreciate it.
My idea. No. The outro never needs to be my idea. And you can also just find me at Garden of Thought on regular audio platforms like Apple, Spreaker, Podbean, iCloud or SoundCloud, whatever it is, etc. And the Wrestling Super Friendos, I do some shows on there, but I'm sort of the grandfather of that show. So while I don't do many shows on there, they're all sort of there because I bludgeoned and cajoled and wheeled and dealed shows onto that network. So check that out. On regular Wrestling Soup, the LFG review show, which is the WWE sort of tough enough reality show, me and the legend Lufisto cover it. We recorded season 3, episode 2, 2 days ago, and so hopefully it'll be up soon, and we'll do the whole season. And we also this is on Wrestling Soup and Friendos, though I'm not sure if that's permanent or not, but we also review the WWE AAA PLE events. Other than that, despite what Drew Yari says, I don't do a million other shows. Garden of Thought tends to have more than one show per week, but not always. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but usually 2. But on the aforesaid Drew Yari, when there's an NXT PLE, I am on his show doing NXT PLEs. Not my show, his show. So, anyway, now that I've cleared that up, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. You can hear Golden Earring, Twilight Zone. It was Restivo's idea. If you hate it, nobody hates Golden Earring. Twilight Zone. Thanks again to the guys for coming through, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.